All right, so we are recording. My name is Harrison Turner. I am a consultant that works for the Nashville Department of Transportation, and this is the Neighborhood Street Traffic Calming Program meeting 2 for Ashford Trace. It is August 28th, 2024, roughly 6 p.m., and this is a virtual meeting. So getting into just kind of a quick background of what is traffic calming. This is going to be very similar to what was presented in meeting 1, but just giving a refresher. So what is traffic calming? And the Neighborhood Street Traffic Calming Program, it focuses on residential streets. It focuses on providing physical solutions that encourage lower speeds over significant lengths. And once again, that is about speed reduction because slower streets are safer streets for everybody involved. So the way we do this is through the 3 E's. The first E of traffic calming is education. That's things like this presentation and different other forms of public outreach to really show the dangers of speeding and high speeds on roadways. The second E is enforcement. That's handled with the Metro Nashville Police Department. They handle the enforcement aspect. And then the third E, which is near and dear to my heart as a traffic engineer, is the actual engineering piece. It's things we can do from an engineering standpoint to design the roads to be safer for all users. So that's kind of what we're going to focus on with this presentation is the engineering aspect. And the reason we do this is because there is a direct correlation between speed and safety. We are doing this under our Vision Zero guidance, and that is the vision that there will be 0 deaths on our roadways. That is the end goal, is to have everybody be able to go home and make it home and work and play and live at their house safely. And the reason we focus so much on speeds is because of that direct correlation. At 45 miles per hour, if a pedestrian is hit by a vehicle, the pedestrian only has a 35% chance of surviving that incident. If we can get that down to a safer 20 to 25 mile an hour range, that survivability goes way up to where they have an 89% chance of survival at 25 miles an hour. So slower speeds are safer streets, particularly if there is a pedestrian that is involved. The slower it goes, the more chance they have of walking away. And that is the end goal, is to really make sure everybody's safe and everybody can survive if there is an incident. So this is a very, very popular program. We just had our newest selection cycle. So we have some updated numbers, but 480 neighborhood streets, give or take a few, are currently in the cycle for the applications. That's as of March 2024. And then for the spring, we were able to get an additional 25 streets. So a very, very popular program. If you have anything outside of the Neighborhood Street Traffic Calming Program, highly suggest using Hub Nashville. You can call 311. You can go online at hub.nashville.gov, or you can use the app. I personally have used the app to fix sidewalk in front of my house. You just go in there and say, hey, we need sidewalk fixed, put it in there, say where it is, and it goes to the right people. If you have anything that involves any metro agency that's outside of this program, please put it in Hub and it will get sorted to the right person. So moving into Ashford Trace. So highlighted on the screen, the Ashford Trace section that we're talking about is from Mount View Road to Murphywood Crossing. And it is highlighted on screen in yellow. And the measures that we are proposing for Ashford Trace, we'll go through those now, and then we'll talk about exactly where they're going to be installed. So the first measure that we are proposing are the speed cushions. They are a modular rubberized or rubber device. And the reason we use the cushions over the tables is a reduced impact to emergency vehicles. They do have the gaps in them that allow for ambulances and fire trucks to have less issue going over them to get to an emergency. They are 3 inches high at the tallest. Their widths are about 6 feet, and then we can vary the lengths between 7 and 10.5 or 14 feet based on how abrupt we want the cushions to be and what's target speed we're going for. And these do have a great effect on speeds. So we actually did a study on several locations, and at those locations prior to the installation, the average speed was 31 miles per hour and the 85th percentile speed was 37 miles per hour. And we were able to get those down to where the average speed after it went from 31 to 22, and the 85th percentile speed went from 37 to 25. So what happened was 85% of cars were going 37 miles an hour or slower. Now we got that to 85% of cars are going 25 miles an hour or slower. So it makes it a much safer street for everybody involved. with the installation of these measures. So this is the proposed plan for Ashford Trace. This is an overview. We are proposing 3 sets of cushions along Ashford Trace, and we'll go in. The first set of cushion is between Mount View Road and Cedar Ash Crossing. It's around 360 feet east of Mount View Road, so about 360 feet from the intersection. And then we have another set of cushions on the east side of Cedar Ash Crossing, and that's going to be 20 foot west of the driveway of 3709 Ashford Trace. And then the third set of cushions is going to be on the other side of Ashford Court between that and Clark Hill Crossing. That's going to be 30 feet west of the driveway of 3741 Ashford Trace. And we measure them from driveways to make sure that we're not putting them in front of a driveway or somebody's going to be backing into them or something like that when they're getting in and out of their driveway. So we try to move them off the driveways to make sure that that's not a problem. So the configuration for these cushions, there's roughly 40 feet of pavement or so. For Ashford Trace, it's fairly wide streets. We are proposing 4 sets of cushions, 2 in each direction, and we're proposing them to be 14 feet long. So that will expand the entire length of the roadway. There is curb on either side, so we're trying to make sure that you're not going to try to drive around them or anything like that. That we have enough cushions to make sure that you have to go over them and go at a slower, safer speed when you're going on the roadway or traveling on the roadway with a vehicle. So the process that we started with the application, then we had the prioritization and selection. Ashford Trace was selected out of all of those streets that did apply. We had our first neighborhood meeting and took the advice from that meeting, moved it into the design, went to a second neighborhood meeting, which is what we have right now, where we can take, where we get to present what we came up with our design, take any final suggestions. We're moving into the online ballot. So that will be a 2-month process. It's going to take about 2 to 3 weeks to get the ballots out, then a 6-week voting period. We need to have 66% yes to move forward, and then we move forward into construction. We are currently seeing around an 8-month time frame from when we move into construction to when we actually can install the material. There is a very popular program, and we do have a little bit of a queue with other streets that are ahead of you in line that are already in that queue. But we are getting the construction done. It will take about 8 months from when we get the ballot finalized to when we can actually move into construction. So what the ballot looks like, it looks very similar to the mailer that you received today. There is going to be a QR code, and then there will be a unique ID code. So every residence gets its own unique ID code. The voting is open for about 6 weeks. There will be a date on the ballot on the ballot that says when you have to vote by. It's a yes or no vote, and we need 66% of the people that vote. So 66% of the people that do turn in a vote, we need them to say yes to move forward into construction. So the ballot zone is shown on screen. It is people that own residential properties between Mount View Road and Murphywood Crossing along Ashford Trace. It is residential properties, churches, and schools. They all get 1 vote. It's only properties that are directly on Ashford Trace that get the vote. And then if you have a vacant property in this section, that's ineligible. Any businesses in this section would be ineligible. And if you own multiple properties, you only get 1 vote. So we do filter out that, but it is residential properties to get 1 vote. So if you have any questions after this presentation or during the balloting process, feel free to reach out to NDOT TrafficCalming.Nashville.gov. You can also reach out to me directly. My email is harrison.turner@kimley-horn.com. You can reach out to either of those, and we'll get you in the answers that you need, or get you in touch with the right people that can provide those answers. So I went through the presentation pretty quickly, and happy to go back and talk about anything in depth, or if there are any questions from the group, we can go back through it and answer those at this time.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
What about motorcycles? We have I live directly on Ashford Trace, and you have a lot of motorcycles that will fly down through here, down through the street. What about those? Can't they get through those panels pretty easily?
So there is a gap between the cushions that does allow for the tire width of like an emergency vehicle. Um, so motorcycles do have a little bit of a gap where they don't have to go over the cushions directly. But they do have a raised section on either side. So the goal would be for them to have to slow down to try to shoot those gaps. But there is a gap there that does allow that would allow for motorcycles to get through. But hopefully it still slows them down some. They are meant mostly for passenger vehicles, though, is what their main purpose is. And the reason, once again, for the gaps is emergency vehicles.
Yeah, we do have a lot of those coming up through here too. Secondly, I forgot my question. Secondly, we've got a lot of renters on this street also. So what do you all reach out to the property owners as far as the voting process?
Correct. It goes to the owner of the property.
Okay.
And that is based on what you have registered for the owner address of the property with Metro government. So if the owner of the property doesn't live at the house, the ballot will get mailed to wherever the address is for the house, or wherever the address of the owner is. Sometimes we get people that get sent to like a PO box or something because they bought the house and listed the PO box as the mailing address. Or
Okay.
if they own two houses, one is not here. It will get sent to the owner. It will not get sent directly to the resident on Ashford Trace. So that does happen. That's a great question.
And then one more question. You said that it's based on 66% of the people that respond, or 66% of the residents on Ashford Trace, which is
It's based on 66% of the people that respond. So
okay.
if there are 10 people, we need 7 people to vote yes.
Okay.
If 20 people, we'd need 14, I do believe, to say yes.
Okay.
So it's of the people that respond.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions from the group while we're all together?
I have a
Yeah,
question.
absolutely.
I am actually on Cedar Ash Crossing, and these enhancements that you are talking about, are they only going to be on Ashford Trace at the time? Am I understanding that correctly? And if so, will there be are you going to be installing some, that are closer to our home? Because we have a lot of people that kind of we have a four-way stop here when you first come into the subdivision, and we have people that, notoriously run that four-way stop, or they'll do donuts in that little section there at the four-way stop. It's just, it's dangerous, really. So are you going to only be installing on Ashford Trace at this time? And if so, what is the, when will we expect to see some here at Cedar Ash?
Yes. So fantastic question. So this is for Ashford Trace. So we're installing one to the west of Cedar Ash Crossing, and then we're installing another set to the east. So it'll be on either side of the intersection. And these are only on Ashford Trace. If you also would like to have or traffic calming on Cedar Ash Crossing, I highly suggest you apply for that, and then we'll go and take data and throw it into our prioritization matrix to see if we can do that as part of this program under a different selection cycle. But this is currently we'll have a set of cushions on either side of Cedar Ash Crossing.
Okay, and then so I can utilize the scan. I mean what is it? The UR. What is it called? UR code. Yeah, the UR code on the form here that you sent us in the mail to request that, or do I go to this email address? Where do I go to request that?
So you want to go to NDOT Traffic Calming.
Okay. Yeah, I have it here. Okay, that's perfect.
So there should be instructions on the website about how to apply and how to get Cedar Ash Crossing into the program as part of the prioritization matrix, or as part of the prioritization process. And we do have 2 cycles a year, so plenty of opportunities to get you into that program.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I have
Absolutely.
a question.
Absolutely.
You have cars that's parked on the main street, I noticed in other neighborhoods they have like the yellow and white reflectors, the post that sticks up. They kind of for like bicycles. Would that be Would that be on the side on Ashford Trace?
It's a great question. So those are called flexible delineators, and we do
Okay.
typically use them to separate bike lanes. We are not proposing any of those as part of this project. We're not trying to dissuade anything of that. As part of this project, we're putting in the speed cushions to slow the vehicles that are traveling up and down Ashford Trace, not trying to dissuade parking with this project. If that's something that you would like to install or like to see, I would suggest putting in a request in the hub Nashville, and that can go to the right group at NDOT to evaluate if that's best interest from the NDOT standpoint. But that's not part of this project.
Okay.
Fantastic question, though. Thank you.
Yeah, so question,
Yes.
you able to hear me? Yeah. So in our original request, we did include cedar ash and Murphywood. Would those be, when we requested, would those have been listed separately, meaning that there's a request for all three, or would it have just been a single request that Ashford was approved for?
That is a great question. I am currently pulling up the map now to see if they all got put in together or not. So I can double check on that. See if I can find it real quick. So it looks like Ashford Trace was selected, and then Cedar Ash Crossing from Monroe Crossing to Ashford Trace has an application on file, and then Murphy Wood Crossing from Ashford Trace to is it Bridget Court is on file. So we do have applications on file for those two roadway segments. And then we also have a application on file for Monroe Crossing from Old Franklin Road to Murphy Wood Crossing. But I highly recommend keep applying, keep in the program. We do select so many streets every selection cycle. So some of those are new selections, and some of those are ones that are off that are currently have an application on file. And I do believe an application is on file for 2 or 3 years. Once it is, so just keep applying, and we'll keep it in the system and keep it in the prioritization matrix.
Yeah, are we informed when that falls off? Because I'm the one that submitted the original request for those 3 streets. And my understanding is that it just auto renews each time. So that's why I just want to make sure if we already have those on file, that we don't need to take additional action.
Yeah, let me double check with my partners to figure out exactly when those were applied for, when they got put on file, and then we can shoot you a message, or if you can shoot me an email, I can reply to it and say these were put on file on this for this cycle. They'll roll off on this cycle, so that would be the one you'd have to reapply for.
Okay, good to know.
And once again, my email, I'm going to flash it back up on screen. So if you just email harrison.turner@kimley-horn.com, or you can email the same question to NDOT TrafficCalming.Nashville.gov. If you email either of those with that question, we can reply to you once I pull up the prioritization matrix and all of the applications. But fantastic question. As we're anything else for Ashford Trace? Happy to go through and spend as much time as we need going through any questions.
Just to circle back to the comment about the stop sign, it's a really good point of that 4-way stop. It's being run constantly. Was there any thought given to that area of the street in order to address that issue?
Yes. So unfortunately, not really much we can do as far as making people obey the stop signs from the engineering standpoint. That would come down to enforcement, and then that could be something that you could put in the hub or talk to your council member to see if they could do something as far as monitoring the area a little more closely. I do know Metro Nashville Police handle the enforcement side, and they do have a lot of things on their plate. So I would suggest reaching out in the hub or reaching out to your council member about the enforcement side for that always stop. But we do have on Ashford Trace, we do have cushions on either side of the stop sign.
So what you're basically saying is that you're putting on each side 4 cushions. Is that the way
Correct.
that okay. And okay, 4 cushions. Oh, and what about the speed limit signs? I don't think that there are any speed limit signs on Ashford Trace. I don't think.
That is a great recommendation. I can see. I'll get with the NDOT sign shop and see what we can do with on that front from a speed limit standpoint. Making sure it's signed correctly. That's a great recommendation. Awesome. If are there any further questions from the group? All right. Well, I'll say I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording, and then so.